The landscape of East Anglia has been really important to me since I lived in Essex during my teenage years, and I really was affected and I think formed by this open, eroding landscape that was mostly air and water, and the way that everything shifts continuously within it. And I found when I came to write about my father's illness and the disappearance of memory and the way that everything was unanchored for him, I came back to that landscape, and also because we spent a lot of time walking there and sailing there, and he loved the sea. One of the things I like about the beach where we made the film is its shallowness, and so you get these short, repetitive wave patterns, undramatic, almost irritating, and they remind me of how my father's mind moved for quite a long period of his illness in these attempts at forming, at moving out of the present moment and then just collapsing back into it and repeating himself and not really managing to get anywhere. And that was another reason that I chose this place. It's an edge of a certain kind. It's clearly eroding. It's being eroded by minutiae rather than any big dramatic collapse or threat. It's kind of looks like what must be happening in the head of someone like him. The first half of the film has this insistent horizontality and this as well as this feeling of looseness, which makes him get rather stuck, I suppose, but also surrounded by possibility and movement and freedom and space. And then in the second half of the film, we have a series of rooms, corridors, doors, windows that are opaque or have blinds across them. So that geometry is one of, I wouldn't say containment, because I think he is contained by his illness. I think it's a geometry of interruption. There is this strange part of any artist, whichever situation they're in, is starting to translate it into art. And I was really interested in the insistence in my father's brain in making connections between what he heard and what he saw. So one day we were walking along a path and he saw a pigeon, and at the same time we could hear a man mending a roof, hammering on the tiles. And he looked at me and said, "Someone is hammering the pigeon into the ground." And I thought that's his brain following whatever pathways are left to it to connect sound and vision. And when I came to make the film, I decided that I wanted to dislocate sound and vision, so use these texts rather than dialogue. It was never intended to be a very naturalistic project. Sometimes when an idea for a work is evolving, I find that another work becomes a sort of presiding spirit and helps me formulate what I'm doing. And in this case, it was Shakespeare's Tempest. For obvious reasons, really, that there is an old man who has shored himself up through his magic and who is losing control of this little world that he's created, this island. So there were narrative elements of the Tempest that spoke to me, but really just the feeling that here was a father and daughter, and the world that they'd established between them was under threat. And at the same time, it was an enchantment, it wasn't real, and that they had to be returned to the real world. I thought I was probably everyone's worst nightmare because I had a really strong and definite idea of what I wanted this to be, but no idea how to make it, having never made a film before. And everyone involved, I mean, for FVU to put their faith, and not only their faith, but their resources and time and expertise behind me, was such a vital aspect in sustaining the confidence that I needed to, as director, drive this thing and hold it. The joy of being able to unfold things in this complete manner, and working with all these other people and learning so much, is just thrilling.